Thanks for inviting me. I'm so glad I'm back. You start to value something when you lose it. You know, often we humans need that kind of shaking to understand. And today I would like us to, I got to take a mask off. We liberals, we always have them. Okay. So I would like today the poetry to lead our way, a living word. And once you deal with poetry, you don't know where it's going to take you. It's uncontrollable. You don't have a defense against it. It has its own power, and you just have to cope with it like it's a person. That's unexpected. So let's dive right into it, and we will together reflect and go back and forth. At times I might get lost, and I may find myself again, and it's going to go like that. Sometimes I'll be silent, look at my notes, and you're just kind of like a little different, right? So let's do this. Wild Geese by Mary Oliver. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese high in the clean blue air are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things. You don't have to conjure up anything. You don't have to be loving. You don't have to be gracious. You don't have to do anything in your heart, think certain thoughts, have any emotions that shoot you into anything. You walk into this kingdom of God like you walk into space. Abraham Joshua Heschel that says that Sabbath is not something we create in ourselves. It's like air that envelopes us and we just walked into it. You don't need to be good. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to have to believe. You don't need to feel anything, think anything. You just come. And so I was thinking, how was Jesus' experience of coming into that kingdom of God? And I wanted us to look a couple of verses with these poems that I'm going to read. And first one is in Matthew 2, 9 to 12. Boy, I haven't preached for so long time. I don't remember when was that last time. It's just amazing. All right. So, Matthew 2, 9 to 12. After they had heard the king, they went on their way, and the star they had seen in the east went ahead of them until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw the star, they were overjoyed. On coming to the house, they saw the child with his mother Mary, and they bowed down and worshiped him. Then they opened their treasures and presented him with the gifts of gold and of incense and of myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to go back to Herod, they returned to their country by another route. Now that is kind of like a throwaway text, kind of sideways. It's just kind of regulating traffic, who is going where and what happened. But think about that. these people are bringing 3 gifts from their treasures, right? So these are 3 expensive things. This is like bringing like dollars, Deutschmarks, and, and Japan yen, like they brought 3 checkbooks, right? So they're bringing this, and they are laying down quite a bit of money, right? And who are these people? They showed up out of nowhere, right? These people are Zoroastrians. We know one thing about them, so that's astrology kind of situation there, right? So they are the other. They are people who are not Christians. They're not Jews. They show up, they bless Jesus, and they leave back and never become Christians. Now think about that. These were the first funders of Christianity. First funders of Christianity were other religions who welcomed Jesus and us Christians in a family of things. It's not a question whether we include others, but whether they include us. We are thankful for them for belonging to the world. We are not against the world. We are thankful to the world for its goodness and for us belonging, having our place and having our story and having our love and having our Jesus and being accepted by them. We are thankful for. So next time when you see somebody reading astrology, in a public, you don't have public transportation here, but anyway, wherever you see it, you just come to them and say, I want to thank you for starting my church. When you see somebody who is different from you and strange, and they're behaving and talking in strange ways that is not in your kind of mythology, right? Go to them and say, oh, God, thank you for those checks and putting us on the path. Look how much goodness has come, over the years, and I'm here, and I owe it to you. I owe it to your ancestors. You don't have to ever become a Christian. You were there before me, and you welcomed me. Right? Receiving is the way we give. Giving is a form of power, but receiving is recognizing divine in the other. So, now that's for Jesus, he was accepted in the family of things, right? There was this blessing coming to him, and God says, thank you, humanity, for handling this. See, one thing that God cannot do is be human, because we sin, and he doesn't know how to do that. So he's excluded from our club. She's excluded from our club. According to traditional Christian theology, we know what it feels to crawl and get up. The divine beings don't, except if they come and incarnate and experience it through us and with us. So Jesus came, it's just a change in perspective. We used to live in a space era, where there was all about physical resources and zero-sum game, and once you run out of space and things, then we entered the time era, which was like all about chronological time and how much time you have, how much you work, and we put people into 9-to-5 jobs, which was very weird because that didn't happen before. It's called kind of artificial machinery happening. But then we ran out of time. It's only 24 hours a day, and we only have one planet, so we ran out of that. So then we came to information era, and we started producing it. Who has more, who has better, data mining and all of that, and we are drowning in information. It's a tsunami. It's a public health issues, political health, country health. We are having too much information. We are underwater, right? And a lot of it is good information, bad information, but information is not going to save us. Everybody can know anything. So then we come to attention era these days, and that's attention is the most valuable resource. Do you feel pressure for your attention? It's just recently I went to the bathroom, and it's like a stall, and you're doing your thing, and there's a commercial in front of you, like screen, like an iPad telling you stuff. It's weird, and it's everywhere, and it's just competing for you, and it's going everywhere, right? So so we are running out of attention. We cannot give it anymore. We are exhausted. We are just exhausted. Everybody fighting for our attention. And we're part of that game. We just need to be part of it. We have a screen. We have, whatever we need to do to survive that, right? But new era, I think it's coming, and I've been kind of like looking at that as much as I could. It's the perspective era. The most valuable and scarcest resource is a point of view. We want to follow people who can take us in this flood of information, who can take us to a hill and give us a point of view, like to see things differently. Or give us a scuba diving equipment so we can go live underwater, right? Or sailboat, and be on the flood. But nobody needs more water. Like, nobody needs more water. You don't need more information. We don't need more explanations. We need experience and presence. We need to be here and now with each other and experiencing it. I don't need more information. I was just giving you information about that. So people seek a high ground, and you can say, my grounding is in what I believe, right? You can say, I believe in God, or I don't believe in God. Like that matters. Not so fast. What kind of God you believe in, that's a whole nother question, right? Whether you believe in God or not believe in God could not matter to God less, right? God couldn't care less about whether you believe in Him. But what does God care about, right? So here's Self-Portrait by David White. It doesn't interest me if there's one God or many gods. It doesn't interest me if there's one God or many gods. I want to know if you belong or feel abandoned, if you know despair or can see it in others. I want to know if you are prepared to live in the world with its harsh need to change you. If you can look back with firm eyes saying, this is where I stand. I want to know if you know how to melt into that fierce heat of living, falling towards the center of your longing. I want to know if you are willing to live day by day with the consequence of love and the bitter, unwanted passion of your sure defeat. I have been told, in that fierce embrace, even the gods speak of God. I have been told, in that fierce embrace, even the gods speak of God. So access to God is a fierce embrace of life, right? Often they say we have created a religion to avoid God, right? Because it's a way to name and structure and move around. But actually, what's all happening is in ordinary life. It's happening in these things that we take for granted, and we're just kind of moving around. In the liturgy of making a breakfast. It doesn't interest me whether you believe in me. I can hear God saying, I want you to know, where is your fierce embrace? Do you belong somewhere? Do you take a risk in a community like this to belong? To be seen, to be visible, to take risk with other people, to claim this place, to be faithful, to create a habit out of it, to belong, and then expand that belonging further and further, whether you're willing to do that, and whether you're willing to accept your sure defeat. Because if you love something, it's going to break your heart. My wife and I love each other very much, but one of us will go to the funeral of the other. We know that. So is with everything else. Anything you love, it's going to break your heart. God says, I want to know if you are okay with that defeat. And if you're okay to see your death as you see your birth as a glorious act. It's act of disappearance, but it's equally glorious as appearance. And so let me tell you a little story here as we're approaching this, taking it down to ordinary life. Steve woke up and Steve went to the bathroom and Steve ate breakfast and Steve commuted to his business. Steve took work orders and fulfilled the orders. Steve negotiated with suppliers, dealt with customer complaints. He paid taxes. Steve then commuted home and washed himself. Steve made dinner. Steve talked to family, friends, and neighbors, and Steve went to bed. Who is Steve? Okay? Steve is Jesus. 30 years living an ordinary life. You know what he could have done in 30 years? He could have done, the Latter Day Saints thing and come here and evangelize America. He could have gone to Asia and Japan. He could have done evangelism all out. For 15 years. No. He goes to the store, wood, cut wood. Go home, do this. Change diapers, do this. Fall in love, be rejected, have diabetes. He's just doing that. We don't know these things, but he was just living it day in and day out. And we are thinking, why didn't he do something spiritual? There is no word spiritual life in the Bible. The moment you say spiritual life, you are taking ordinary life and you are saying it's different. You're separating it. And you're manipulating it. You are making it easier. You want to know, you want to control it. We'll talk about that a little later, but here's what Jesus was doing most of his life. Sleep, eat, work, poop, play, and pray. That's it. That's the liturgy of a Son of Man. 3 words that he said probably most often that are not in the Bible, but I can bet they're most often. It's hello, thank you, and I'm sorry. Right? This is the liturgy of life. Now, this end of his life that is happening there, that we have been obsessing about, it's important. But how about, decades? So, here is I discovered Walt Whitman recently. I'm from Croatia, so I was just like, Walt Whitman, he's just the guy from the Dead Poets Society, And, say your yelp, barbarian yelp. You remember that scene? So, but then, just a couple of years ago, I was in the kitchen, I was cooking, and on a whim, I printed his Song of Myself poem. And I started reading it, and for an hour, I was just sobbing. It's incredible. Just recognition that you're a human being. And how glorious that is. How there is no difference between a Bible that he values and the smell of your armpit. Nothing is excluded from holiness of being alive and being enchanted and found ourselves out in this place to have this. This is not Matrix. This is for real. This is really going on. Imagine us sitting there, the chairs, the lights, the blue, who can possibly come up with this, right? Sometimes I wake up in nightmares, but sometimes I wake up laughing, and being happy about it. And I think that's a good response to that. But listen what he says here, Walt Whitman. He goes through these thoughts and he says, these are really the thoughts of all men and in all ages and lands. They're not original with me. If they are not yours as much as mine, they're nothing or next to nothing. If they are not the riddle and the untying of the riddle, they are nothing. If they are not just as close as they are distant, they are nothing. This is the grass that grows wherever the land is and the water is. This is the common air that bathes the globe. Now you go to the Gospel of Matthew, which you just read, and Matthew calls the kingdom of God that Jesus talked about kingdom of air. Oranos, right? Kingdom of air. Meaning, kingdom of God is like air that is touching your skin. It's something you enter, something you are present in. It doesn't depend on you to make it happen. Kingdom is so close, like air is close to your lung. It's like close to your cells and close to your skin. He didn't say Christianity is here, join it. He said kingdom of God is here, enter it. Kingdom of God is not made of Christians, it's made of humans and other species who are equally important as humans, right? And so most of our lives we are trying to be right. You know, we want to be right about things. Then we grow and we want to be good, right, after that. But then there's far more complicated thing than being good, to be whole, to accept part of you that you are avoiding, and put your shadows in the light and live with them and accept your limitations and wrongs and just be part of that, not just be good. You know, good people are just I don't know, there's something about good people that like rubs us off the wrong way. But whole people, that's different. Right? So, but then after that, there's one more movement to be part of the whole. It's not all about you. It's not all about you being whole, about you finding your happiness, about finding meaning in life, all of that. There's a bigger fish to fry. The world will survive even if you die. Right? Love goes on. Amen. World goes on. For me, just to be like, am I happy? Am I have meaning? Like, that's not that relevant actually. Right? There is bigger, more important things. Right? Things are happening in the world that you need to act on and do, whether you feel happy or not, whether you have a meaning or not. Right? That's what Jews would say. That Jews' pet peeve with Christian theology is like, oh, you guys, you gotta have to feel things in order to do things, right? I don't know about that. I say, why don't you do things and then see how it goes? Right? So, and so when I have a lot of people that come for like coaching and entrepreneurs and a lot of people come with one big question, like, am I good enough? I feel like an imposter syndrome, you know, like, am I good enough? A lot of us ask this question, am I good enough for this? For whatever it is in our lives. And it's very important for us to hear, yes, you are good enough. You are enough. You are enough, right? Okay, then pause. Maybe that pause can be like a minute or 10 years or 20 years, and then you're not enough. You're not enough. You're just participating in things that are bigger than you. You, for whatever important things in life that you want to do, it cannot happen alone. Whatever matters to you, you cannot do alone. So you are part of things. You're participating in things. You're part of the whole, right? And so I want to invite you to look at the world with this kind of eyes of a mystic. And word mystic can, mean a lot of things to a lot of people. You might have associations about mysticism. But mystics were people who were willing to live a life greater than what they can control. And since religion was often in a business of controlling things, so then, they would go and, when they get upset and things go wrong, they go and kill a couple of mystics, in any religion, right? And mystics are kind of like on the edge. They are seeing things that other people might not be seeing, but they're willing to experience things they cannot control. Now, I want to invite you to, forget about Rumi for a minute, Those of you who are in this area, some of you might have Adventist background and you know Ellen White. She's a mystic. It's like mystics are people who are like, have insight but also have problems. Like they're like normal people, but exponentially, right? Like they are living with sensibilities and attention that is like a much more sort of on steroids in some way. Mr. Rogers was a mystic, right? Mary Oliver, I read her poem. Who are mystics in your family? Maybe uncles, maybe your grandmother, maybe a neighbor, somebody who is inviting you to a life that is larger than of everything you know, right? Who is one that takes you over the line to befriend the unknown. And not only befriend it, but to embrace it and live with expectancy of it, of what comes out of it. And these mystics have been saying throughout the years, in fact, Rumi has a poem. He says, don't be satisfied with our stories. Unfold your own myth. Unfold your own myth. You are a mystic. You are a mystic. I was once it was 20 years ago on a workshop with Lawrence Kushner. He's a Jewish mystic, not Harold Kushner, Lawrence Kushner. And it was about Jewish mysticism. And I was in the front row, and I was one of these, teacher's pets kind of a people, listening in the front and writing everything down. And he started talking about mystical experience. He says, we all have mystical experiences. It's about 20 minutes once in 2 years, right? And I went to the street and I was like, oh my gosh, is it possible for me to be a mystic? And I come back and then he said, it's like in the Blues Brothers. You are the mystic, and you, and you, and you. I felt, this is a possibility. Can this be practiced in ordinary life? Let me try. Let me try and loosen the boundaries of what I know and try to live and take risks through this process. Because we used to say, mystics are people who are, you cannot say I'm a mystic. Somebody else, it's like achievement that you cannot say, because it's like achievement of humility. You cannot say, look, I'm humble, right? You can't say that. Somebody else needs to say that, and then you say, no, right? Right? Because, I need to have humility in order to enjoy it, right? Being humble. So it was with artists. We had artists, there were just people having nose to the ground and doing their things, and then there were artists in a society. But we broke that ceiling, right? Everybody's an artist. You know that you need creativity to survive. If you're a mother and you're at home, you are artist of human life. Every moment requires creativity. Unique, your own thing to do things. Fathers, whoever, we all need creativity in our conversations. We need the creativity at our dates. We need the creativity to deal with our problems and issues. We need to step into the unknown, and we're all invited to be artists and creators in the image of God, right? So is with mystics. You can create a life that is crazy in your own way, right? You are weird. I'm weird. We're all weird in a way. And society, and we are all each other, we are trying to find a way we will not be weird, right? But we are, right? How about doubling down on the weird? Right? And you think, well, what do? I don't have anything. Yeah, but if you watch what other people have on a YouTube, you're hanging out all day or watching Netflix and living other people's stories and other people's myths, then you're not going to unfold your own myth, right? But each of us, life has given us ingredients that are uniquely ours in the history of the universe. I love cooking. I cook a lot, and I love to open the fridge and say, what do we have here? What do we have here? Oh, we have some kale, we have some tofu, and we have, clarified butter, right? Just random, improv kind of thing. What do I do with that? And I have other things in pantry and all that. So you go and do things, right? And you put something on the table. Right? We do not go in a fridge and say, but I wish I had that this other fridge has, and I got to go to the store, and I got to get it. No, life has something for you. And if you have 3 ingredients that you can name in your life, 3 experiences, 3 beliefs, values, relationships, you can create, right? You can create and be your own freedom fighter. That's the way to put it. The mystics are freedom fighter. And living a life that is greater that you can control. If this is a life you control, like this circle here, right? And this is the life that you cannot control, it's bigger, right? Real things happen between this line and this other big thing, right? When you are out of control, this is the best things in life. Because you have to be present. You don't know what happens next. And you don't want it any other way, right? You show up for a date and you're completely out of control, right? And you do not know other person. So there's a lot of unknown happening. And you the moment you say that you know other person and that you are in control is the moment you do not know anymore, right? So we are continually shrinking things in our lives these days, into what we can control. And by that, we are shrinking a part of life that is most valuable in being human. So in terms of perspective, time, 10:58, all right? It's learning to trust the unsafe world and believing that life has been on your side so far. Invested in all of us. It took, a million years, hundreds of thousands of years, to stars to align, for things to happen, for life to show up. Then, when that life showed up, then that took a lot of development. Then humans showed up, then your ancestors loved each other. It keeps going, and then you're born, right? And then you're born and you have free lunch. Those who say that there's no free lunch, they have probably forgotten that first 10 years of their life, free lunch was like, every day. And so then you got this morning and you came here, which means that the kingdom of God, life itself, is invested in you, in your success. It's on your side. Mystics are people who accept the certainty that life has welcomed them. That we are welcome here. We don't have to prove anything. We don't have to defend anything. We accept what is, we ask what if, we find what matters when we do what works. That kind of steps. It's very simple. And it's also a way to put it is the mystics are those who live a life that is in love. That's why you have, you turn roomy and all of those kind of, if you go look, you will say, what are these? Is this erotica or is this like mystics? Are these believers or are they talking about their lovers? Like you don't know. They talk about clutching heaven's sheets, things like that. God is panting in my ear, because experience is full on. It's coming with certainty, complete release. There is no holding back. Mystics are not like, like classic liberals. We don't know anything really, everything is questioned, what's the myth that is holding everything together? They're not philosophizing, they are philosophizing, but they are certain. They're certain about this love. And they're all out. There is no doubt, there's no doubt about that we're welcome in this life, and this is a gift, and you got to live full on, right? That's what they know. And they stake themselves on it. And you might say, but I don't know. If I live like that, that's too much risk. What's going to happen? Yeah, you don't know. That's the point. You do not know. Because you might end up on a cross. But that's not the worst thing. Because you know how to love well. And if it ends in a cross, it's just a part of the whole thing. It's a part of the package of loving well. But you get to love well, right? So when Jesus was born and when he was growing up and inviting people, he was inviting them and said, look, I cannot promise you anything. Look, people have stones to put on their head. You might not even have that. People sometimes can go into foxholes. You might not even have that. But I can promise you one thing. You will learn to love well. And that's worth all. Right? Nothing else I can promise. So this is the perspective that Jesus introduced. And I want to land this down here. Try to have questions that you can't Google. Struggle with questions that Google doesn't have answer for. Vocationally, ask yourself questions that no LinkedIn workshop can give you answer for. Right? There is no workshop in some hotel with chandeliers where you go and they give you 3 steps on how to lead. Right? The questions go deeper, and they can only be answered through experience, through actually being here, through actually going through it. Right? You might want to think of your story not as an actor in your story, but as an author of your story. And you can zoom out and zoom in, and you have this power to have perspective, right? And lastly, I want to say that, practice being nobody. Nobody. Aren't you tired of all of this? You are extraordinary. You're going to have 15 minutes of fame. You're going on a YouTube one day. You're going to do this. We're like, oh my gosh. Like, it is so exhausting and so distracting from what's actually going on. And what's actually going on is you need to make breakfast. Right? And clean it up and get kids out. What's actually going on, you need to make a phone call to your lover and say, I'm sorry. That's what's going on. What's not actually going on is much, we are trying too hard. We are trying too hard, right? It's all right here as an air that envelopes our eyes. And if you get in, so let me read this quote. I really want it in lieu of poetry here, which is Vincent van Gogh. He writes to brother Theo in 1882, and he feels invisible in the world, like nobody, right? And they were really, their relationship is just an amazing relationship that it's, I don't know how much you know about it, but I'll skip that and just say, here's what he writes in a letter. What I am in the eyes of most people, a non-entity, an eccentric, or an unpleasant person. Somebody who has no position in a society I will never have. In short, the lowest of the low. All right then, even if that were absolutely true, then I should like to show by my work what such an eccentric, such a nobody has in his heart. Right? It's not that we need to do great things. It is just by living a human life and surviving it, you're going to change the kingdom of God. This kingdom of God is changed by all of us. All of us have impact on it. All of us are making a difference. However small, no good deed gets forgotten, and every move we make is a part of it. It's not a computer game in which we included. It's not book already written that we need to follow. No, our choices matter, right? And they matter for all of us eternally. And so all of this is very awkward if you start to apply it. But awkwardness is one of the most beautiful states that human being can have. When you're awkward, you're not in danger, right? You're with one foot in the known and with one foot in the unknown, right? That awkward place where you just entered with your date. I don't know why I'm talking about dates. I miss my wife. So you go and you sit down and you're together. Now what? Right? It's awkward. It's not dangerous. So unknown that our lives are surrounded with are full of, we have fear of the unknown for a good reason. Our fear saved our lives so many times, and we see that. But the unknown is full of joys and full of discoveries and full of allies. And I promise you, if you double down on your crazy, suddenly there will be new power and new virtue and new values and new support and new friendships and new connections that show up, because now you're visible. Now people can relate to you. Because if you do not double down on who you are, right, then you do not know, people don't know who you are. And if you don't know who you are, so you cannot double down, you just double down like that. You say, I don't know who I am. I'm confused, right? If you feel that you are bored and that you are boring and you cannot do it, just say, I feel I'm boring. Just start on that line that is your first excuse and just state it. And then make next step. And then the next step, and then the next step. And so mystics were fearless, in doing that. And I want to finish with the orange. Forgot about the orange. All right, Revelation 3:20, real quick. Those of you who are from that studies book of Revelation. Just saying. Revelation 3:20. Sorry. Here I am. I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in and eat with him and he with me. Now think about that. Book of Revelation, end of the world, everything's being revealed. Jesus is showing up straight at your heart. All the curtain is down, everything's being obvious now, right? This is a revelation. And he comes at the door and knocks and says, open the door. And you're like, I don't know about that. And then you're just kind of going back and forth, and then you believe, and then you open the door. And what is Jesus up to? Certainly he doesn't say, I told you so. Like, he doesn't say, give us a sermon. He doesn't give a belief. He doesn't do any of these things that we have built a religion around. He said, I'm going to sit at a table and we're going to have lunch, right? We're going to eat together. He could have said today, and I'll vacuum the house with you. And let's clean your garage. I will just be bored with you. I will be depressed with you. I will help you with your medicine. I'll make you laugh. I'll massage your feet if you're depressed. I'll just be here, right? So this normalcy that is all in front of us, that is hiding in the scriptures and in between the text, every once in a while pops up. So the orange here is, when I was here, I loved these oranges. Oh my gosh, I was 4 years here. I was gorging on them. But then, after a while, it was like, oh, stupid orange, like oranges, Like but when I left to New York, and I was like, there's a bad oranges there, really bad. So when I come, and this is something that my friend Jeff Gang saw once, and I bought on the street those bag of oranges, and I stuffed 2 bags into my suitcase, right, to take them to New York. And he's like, why are you doing that? That's crazy. I said, yeah, that's crazy, stupid oranges, but these are amazing, right? So when I come here, I always go and I always pick an orange with my hand from a tree, and I used to steal them. But I thought, it would be great if they only knew how spiritual my experience is. They will be okay with that, right? It's just that I cannot explain it to them. So yesterday I was running around. I said, I'm not going to do the stealing thing. I'm just getting, I don't want to be orthodox here, right? So I'm going around the trees and I'm looking for the house. Find somebody to say, can I take 1 orange from this grove, right? I look on the ground, they're all bad. So I go home, I don't have an orange, next day, some other time. And then in the backyard, Rosemary's backyard, there's an orange tree. And kids are just walking out to get oranges, and the grass is all wet. And I was in my slippers, and I took my shoes off and went barefoot and picked the orange. It's like coming, like it was my small experience of Moses in front of the bush, And picking this orange, and it smells so good. Gosh, right? And we forget to value these simple things, It's a matter of our attention, but it's also a matter of our perspective. And Eucharist, what is it about? Creating ourselves through food, literally. When we grow up, we create ourselves. We're closest to God is when we eat. So this is my Eucharist, the stupid orange. And I want to invite you to create rituals of awareness in your life. Make your little theater. You don't need to make a video for YouTube, You don't need to have a blog. You don't need to, dress differently for your workplace or whatever that is, or school. It's all around us, and I want to invite you to see the world differently. And you might need to lose your mind, right? So double down on your crazy, and every day will be part of your love story, which is a story of the universe. And everyone will be part of that, and everything will be part of that. And we will finish with a poem here. Everything is Waiting for You by David White. I just have to do this, I'm sorry. Everything is waiting for you. Your great mistake is to act the drama as if you were alone. As if life were a progressive and cunning crime with no witness to the tiny hidden transgressions. To feel abandoned is to deny the intimacy of your surroundings. To feel abandoned is to deny the intimacy of your surroundings. Surely, even you at times have felt the grand array, the swelling presence, and the chorus crowding out your solo voice. You must note the way the soap dish enables you, or the window latch grants you freedom. Alertness is the hidden discipline of familiarity. The stairs are your mentor of things to come. The doors have always been there to frighten you and invite you, and the tiny speaker in the phone is your dream ladder to divinity. Put down the weight of your aloneness and ease into the conversation. The kettle is singing even as it pours your drink. The cooking pots have left their arrogant aloofness and seen the good in you at last. All the birds and creatures of the world are unutterably themselves. Everything, everything, everything is waiting for you. So how are you, friends? If you are confused about what I was saying, you should be. I'm confused too. So it's okay. It's a good spot. It's an awkward spot to be confused. So in Walt Whitman words, we were together. I forget the rest. Merry Mystic Christmas, everybody.